The Umbrella Corporation. Our business is life itself. This podcast episode is brought to you by nothing.
Try it for free.
All right, man, we're on, bro.
Cool.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
So, what do you think about this election season?
Crazy.
What's going on?
You know, it's I was born in 1989, so I've only lived through a handful of elections, and you can say how they've been pretty wacky in it of themselves. The Bush years and then the Obama election, but this one takes the cake, man. This is like the circus on steroids, and it's arrived and it's here to stay. Like the Republican debate is literally a dick measuring contest. Like
Really?
Literally.
I've missed it. I missed all of it.
Dude, like the other day, like Mark Rubio was accusing Donald Trump of like having small hands, and we all know what that means. And Donald Trump came out saying, like defending the size of his dick, and it's like, what in the world is this? What? This is the presidential debate, like for the Republican Party?
Yeah.
This is nuts. Like it's unbelievable. And then
I wasn't aware of that, huh?
this is just recently, and I haven't really been watching.
I mean, I'm aware of the circus that it is.
Yeah.
Remarkably, I don't have internet at home right now.
Yeah.
And for like months now, and I haven't had a TV in my house until I moved in with Patricia since like 2001.
Yeah.
So, in spite of being such a disconnected person, it's just like you can gather that it's like this.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I haven't.
That's how blatant it is.
Oh my goodness, I haven't really been watching any of it either. I just been getting like the commentary from the podcasts that I listen to, and the YouTube shows that I watch, and eventually I just broke down and watched this last one, and it was just like, this is what I've been missing. This is better than like the last.
Kim Kardashian's.
It's better than the Saturday Night Live in the last like 10 years, basically. It's crazy, man. It's Ted Cruz. It's Donald Trump. It's Ben Carson. It's some other boring guy that barely speaks.
And you're talking about the Republicans?
The Republican.
Yeah.
And then the Democrats are actually, to me, man, if only Bernie Sanders. I'm a big Bernie Sanders supporter. I know this. I feel like the media has robbed him completely. They're not shining. They're not giving him any credit. They're only painting him with this one brushstroke. He's a socialist. And then whenever the commentators are forced to acknowledge that he's gaining a following, especially amongst young people, they're quick to say, oh, it's because he's doing that populist crap, but he just wants to give people free stuff, but how are we going to pay for it? And I take a lot of offense to that, because as a young person, as a millennial, I resent being called entitled because, well, for one, I don't ask the government for anything. I'm not in any kind of, the only thing that I enjoy from the government is the roads that we drive on. I don't even have student loans. I have Obamacare, basically. So it's like, the reason I think Bernie Sanders is so crucial is because he's talking about things like breaking up the big banks. Like, that's huge, man. That's a huge step into, destroying the plutocracy that we have in this country now.
You mean it's huge that he's talking about that and he's running for president?
Oh, completely. And
yeah, but without that, it's not huge because, how old are you?
27 now. I just
okay,
turned
well,
27.
You're not a kid, but
No.
But if let's say somebody who's 50 or myself, this is an old argument.
Yeah.
Like people who follow politics.
Oh, completely.
People have been talking about this kind of thing, like the leader of the Communist Party in the United States, Bob Avakian.
Right.
He's been talking about this forever.
Dude,
other people who are less extreme,
you don't even have to look
less extreme label.
You don't even have to look that far. What's his name? The Ron and Rand Paul people have been talking about that, and before that, you know, even Obama talked about it during his 2008 campaign. Too big to fail, whatever. Want change, whatever. But nothing happened. And now the thing about Bernie is that he's talking about that. He's talking about getting money out of politics. Mm-hmm. He's talking about shrinking the military budget.
Now, do you think that the stuff that he's talking about, do you think that that represents what many of the people want?
It's hard to tell, man. It's really
But I'm
hard
saying,
to tell. I think people are tired.
Do you think it's in the people's benefit? Do you think he is somebody who's vying for the people's benefit?
I believe so, because I believe that what he's done. And here's the thing that I always criticize about the idea of a president in general. The idea that we need to have somebody who's a leader, a good speaker, an economic genius, a war expert, and a sociologist all in one package is completely absurd. Mm-hmm. Like, people have talked about this before. You know, it's kind of an insane role to fill. But what I like about Bernie is that he's like, this is not about me, Bernie Sanders, the man. This is about what these ideas represent and how they apply to all of us. Like, he's not putting himself above the crowd and rising above it and saying, I will be your leader. He's actually saying, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm one of you.
Yeah.
And I know that's like the ultimate populist thing that you could say, but the fact that he's not injecting his personality into the arguments makes me feel that he's genuine. Plus, his track, he was the only independent in Washington, and his track record shows for itself. I just watched. There's this guy I watch on YouTube. He's got a show called Secular Talk. It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how Bernie Sanders, when he was mayor, I forget what the town is, some town in Vermont, he actually was supportive of transgender and gay rights in the 70s when those people were viewed as mentally ill. So, and you know, he marched on Washington during the civil rights. He, you know, his record is immaculate. He's not a corrupt politician. I mean, it's just, say what you want, call him a socialist, whatever. But, you know, America, I got news for everybody out there, is partly a socialist nation. We have socialist principles that we have enacted as social safety nets for people. But for some reason, people associate socialism with dictatorship or some kind of like suspension of civil liberties or restriction on freedom or something insane like that. But the reality is, there needs to be a shift in the way we actually live our lives here, not just in America, but in the West. You know, we expect too much. We expect too high of a comfort level, and it's frankly completely unsustainable to want these things. And that, I feel like once we get everybody covered, I mean, there's no reason why somebody should be able to afford an iPhone and air conditioning and, you know, 3 square meals, but an emergency room visit is going to take you under and put you in bankruptcy. Like, that makes no damn sense.
Yeah,
you know?
it is crazy.
You know?
There's many dynamics. There's many elements about where we live that are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like they are, and by crazy, I mean, they're counterintuitive to all of the plentifulness that we have.
Completely.
You know, and then usually an argument from somebody who's far wealthier than I am will be something like, the wealthier they are, the more libertarian they tend to be, because they're taken care of.
Right.
Like, just take care of yourself. I made it, or my dad made it, or my grandfather made it, or.
What does it even mean to make it, though? That's the problem. Like, if you're alive, if you didn't die that day, then you've made it. Yeah. That's really the standard. Like, the idea that every human being needs to live like a king in Persia with a fucking person fanning them all day is insane. It's ludicrous. I mean,
but that's what this country is based off of. I call it the kings and queens syndrome.
Yeah. And
we all have toilets, and we all have everything that's trying to do something for us.
Right.
And I attribute it to it coming from the times when there were kings and queens in Spain and people being peasants, the majority of people being peasants, and that being the goal, the thing that you're trying to get to.
Right.
And so when slavery happened and people were able to act as their own king, over their
domain
serfs, over their slaves.
Yeah.
And then the Industrial Revolution happened, and you were able to produce things on a mass scale, like as if you had an army to do these things, or army of slaves to do these things without enslaving anybody necessarily. And the goal all along has always been to be like a king or a queen, and that's why, like, I noticed that more in American culture, from my wife's side of our family, there's more crock pot use and more oven use and more things, dishwashers, inventions, like more things where you can put your thing there, and then you can kind of pretend. I'm not saying they're pretending, but you can kind of pretend in your mind that I'm going to come back and it's going to be done.
Yeah.
Instant rice and all this kind of thing. All of it's motivated. I don't know what the word is, or I don't know how to explain it, but that's not the only determining. It's not the only motivating factor, but all of it, for what I'm talking about, all of it is emanating from that philosophy.
Right. And
it's still here.
It's here, and it's ultimately speaks very poorly, because what we have is a situation where people are judged for what they have and is deeply materialistic.
Mm.
And ultimately it's an empty existence. If your purpose is to acquire wealth, and without wealth you buy stuff, and you need the latest, best stuff, then what kind of culture are we actually creating? I mean, are we serving ourselves, or are we serving the stuff that we're buying?
Well, it's like the snake eating its tail. Yeah. It's hard to tell where it starts and where it ends because we're so inured in it.
Right.
Where do you think, like, where is that going?
Yeah.
Like, do you see, I can picture our taste for material things dissipating.
I think so too. I think it's disappearing, and I think materialism is.
But do you really see it? I don't see it yet.
I see it
because people are still like, "Oh, my latest iPhone." People are so fucking annoying.
Here's where I see it. I see it in the difference between my mom and me, or my roommate's mom and him. Those people, my mom's generation, is obsessed with shit like Ellen DeGeneres and the damn iPhone and the apps and watching the latest Netflix series or whatever stupid shit. Maybe I'm just disconnected from my generation. People tell me that all the time. Maybe I just feel like I live in this bubble, which I might, but
you should live in a bubble.
I feel like, from what I notice from my peers, and my peers, I don't mean the people I directly know. I mean the communities that I frequent on the internet and the things that I listen to or whatever, or the places that I comment on or whatever. People are more into downloading things and sharing media through digital means, which automatically is less materialistic, because it's not about acquiring the thing. It's about the actual, like for instance, like, it's not about buying the CD because the CD is a thing that you hold. It's about what the CD actually holds, and about the music. Or it's not about buying the book itself. It's about reading the content within the book. It's not about buying the movie. It's just about watching the movie. So yeah, like the tangibles being lost, and I used to think like, oh, something's being lost there. Like, there's something about putting a record on that's kind of cool and tactile or whatever. But ultimately, fuck all that. What matters is the content. What matters is that we're not putting tokens and objects that we worship around us. We're just it's literally about the thing itself, and I think that's a step. Maybe it's not the most direct or most necessarily useful step, but I feel like there's one thing actually I want to talk about, which is kind of unrelated, but I want to segue into it. And and it's talking about the generations. Our parents' generations are definitely more materialistic. Like my mom goes out shopping, and like my mom comes to the States to visit me, and one of her things to do is to go to like fucking Ross and go shopping and buy crap, something that I just can't even, like, I don't do, like I go shopping seasonally for my clothing and that's it. I don't constantly go out and buy crap, I get my fulfillment from the arts and music and conversations like this with people, like things that you can't necessarily buy, things that you have to seek out. And
you're such a hippie.
I don't know, man.
So there's the difference between your mom and you, her generation and your generation.
Yeah.
You think it's generational though? I mean, there's plenty of people who are like campaigning for Hillary Clinton who are materialists, and people who are campaigning for Donald Trump who are materialists.
Oh yeah, and it's just because here's what the thing is: it takes a long time for the generational shift to occur. I mean, we're now seeing Generation Xers starting to take influence in the political process. It's just starting out.
It's bullshit. The internet has been around for how long now? 20 years?
Oh yeah, I mean, the internet should have put all this shit out of business a long time ago. I mean, what is this?
Yeah,
shit?
but it was what was that in Pakistani? I think her name is an Indian or Pakistani artist, the rapper MI6 or something. MI, and she said on Twitter, the internet has changed hands and nobody noticed.
Oh, you're right.
And she wrote that like years ago.
It's a corporate war. It's here's how creepy it is with the internet.
It's just become another arm of
the establishment.
Hyper-capitalism.
Dude, it's crazy, and I blame advertisement, really.
Well, I mean, even we're the products now.
Yeah.
Like literally, we're products. Like our data, the data that you're generating is
the content.
Your product. Yeah. You're the product, and they're taking your data, and that's the epitome of shit. It's hyper-capitalism. It's like you've monetized basic human interaction.
It's like capitalism is a virus that just destroys everything it touches, man. Damn it.
Yeah, but when when you label it, then you open up a door for. I'm not saying you, but me too.
Yeah.
When you open up a door for a dogmatic.
I agree.
Discussion.
I agree.
Which then is coming from a place that's less useful.
Completely. It almost like
with capitalism. Well, if you don't like it, Andre, just move out of the country.
Well, that's a bullshit argument, because what's the country's an idea. The country's not really anything. It's just land. It's like this. It's just a planet. Nobody owns anything. It's just an idea. But the thing about that drives me nuts, and this is the crap, and this is one of the things that kind of has been turning me off, like the Joe Rogan podcast lately, is that
it depends on the episode.
Depends on the episode. Yeah, he's got some great episodes, but he had some CIA asshole the other day, and it was an interesting podcast, but he was talking about, like, that's the thing about capitalism, that it drives competition, and you have to compete, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, listen, man, that might have worked in the 20th century. It was a beautiful thing. It got us to this point. But at this point, we've reached a stalemate point where it's become like competition, cooperation is always going to outdo competition. Mm-hmm. Because a single individual who's competing is nothing. It's something that's going to be fleeting. The real, I deeply believe this, and this is the one belief that I hold to this day, the power. The human race has to become self-aware as one. Like, we have to, realize that we're all one existing organism. That there's no all these lines.
I have a similar thought to what you're saying, except mine is probably more controversial.
What's yours?
Because I think that the human race has to realize that they are the God that they've created.
Oh, yeah. We are gods.
Because if you don't stop pulling the trigger, people are still going to get shot. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
If you stop pulling the trigger, people will not die. If you stop supporting or if you stop working at a factory farm that is treating their animals cruelly, I mean, they're all dying no matter which one, but then you stop that.
Yeah.
But if you don't, if you let some sort of dogma, some overarching dogma, dictate you, which is most of what we have in society because that's how we're taught.
And that's how they divide us, because it's like, oh, your views align with this train of thought, so you must be a socialist. That's your ideology. You have to follow that. Or take it even a scale down. Like with me, I kind of became a vegetarian recently. I'm not really a vegetarian. I'll eat meat every once in a while. I'll eat fish. If I feel like eating meat, I'll fucking eat it. But even within that community, there's a dogma. Yeah. There's people I know that won't eat honey or eggs. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. You've never been hungry in your life. You don't know what it's like. Yeah. There's no culture in the world.
Yeah, dude, it looks very strange to come from a poor place and see somebody be so cutthroat picky about the food, to be so catered to in their food choices.
And to me,
just looks weird.
And that's the big disconnect and that's what I think. This is where I think the lines are being redrawn with our generation. Instead of having the dichotomy of the left and the right, now you're going to have these fucking social justice warrior people that drive me insane. Have you heard of this term?
Yeah, of
SJW,
course.
whatever it is. And
I don't use it. I rarely use it because I don't really like it. Yeah,
that term?
Yeah, I don't really use it very much.
I mean, it's a divisive term, and the people who don't subscribe to it do the exact same thing to the people who do. It's insane. But conforming to an ideology is very dangerous because it limits your perception.
I don't even use the word millennials.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Unless I'm quoting somebody.
The only time to use the word millennial is when you're referring to maybe voters. I don't even know. Maybe to like an age group.
Yeah. But so the social justice warriors get on your nerves?
Yeah.
Like that, or the concept of it?
It does, because it's another form of fascism. I feel like...
So it's not the left and the right anymore, but now it's social justice warriors.
And, well, I think it's going to be a different thing. I think it's going to be the extreme PC, what they've called the regressive left. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to be on the other end of the spectrum, we're going to have...
It's like there's a label factory.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Like, just can't wait to label something. What can we... Bam!
How can we divide ourselves even more, right? But I'm of the belief also that these trends and these labels aren't necessarily an organic thing that come up. I think these things are deeply engineered. And I know this because I've worked in advertisement. Mm-hmm. And I know how cultures are made basically overnight. Like Santa Claus is a Coca-Cola product.
Yeah.
Like,
without exaggerating or without being embustero.
Right.
It's true.
It's true.
It's totally true. They invented the modern looking concept of Santa Claus.
So if they can do that, and we live in a plutocracy, which is an extreme version of an oligarchy.
Which means plutocracy, meaning two parties are... No,
like the complete corporate owners. We have overlords.
Yeah, okay,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like corporate overlords.
Yeah.
That are above the Constitution, you know?
We definitely do.
Completely. And so this whole social justice warrior, to me, that whole culture has been being manufactured since like the Lion King, since this is all like, and I don't want to think, it's not like a conspiracy theory. It's more just like, all right, we have a whole new generation. We're going to start selling them shit right now. Mm-hmm. And we're going to make these perfect little kids that are all going to be all inclusive and shit.
Okay, so a way to illustrate that for me is when somebody's a rebel, right? They already had something designed for them to be a rebel. What are you going to do? You're going to go get a leather jacket.
Oh, it's like...
And you're going to get a motorcycle. Right.
Well, that's how
I'm a rebel, like all the other rebels.
Well, and that's what I mean by the power, and that's exactly goes back to the Coca-Cola thing.
This is why the way I dress is so whacked. Because I just don't subscribe to anything. Shit, yeah. No, and I need to though. I need to.
That's why the '60s didn't do what they did. That's why punk rock didn't do what it was supposed to do. Because what capitalism does. They take these ideas and they're like, these are dangerous. How do we bring them down to our level? We create manufactured versions of them. There's a hippie costume down the store you can buy with dreads and a tie-dye shirt. There's a leather jacket you can buy and you can look just like Marlon Brando. There you go. He's the rebel. Mm-hmm. So there you go. You can be a rebel too. You want to be a rebel? Fine. We don't care. This is a free country. You can be a rebel. Mm-hmm. That's not how, but that's how they sterilize these movements. That's how they're not taken seriously. That's why somebody like Joe Rogan can go on his podcast and be dismissive of Bernie Sanders supporters, you know, because any ideology that actually is a threat to the system becomes easily mocked by the system itself by incorporating it within. It's like, oh, these guys are just looking to make $1. They're not really ideologues. This ideology is just bullshit. Mm-hmm. That's how they dismiss it. That's how they have killed pretty much every significant movement since the 1960s, you know?
You know, I just wrote something the other day. You know, I've been working on an article when I can about the internet.
Okay.
And I'm not a writer, so it's very slow, and I have
State?
kids. I would actually. I totally would. I can publish at multiple places, right?
Yeah, of course. Okay. Dude, come on.
I don't know how it works. I'm not a writer. But I wrote, this is the topic on the internet, is the internet was a place that challenged our long-standing social constructs. Then it was, even we were molded to the hand of commerce. The mentality of if it can't be enforced by the current power structure, then it isn't worth pursuing is utterly boring to me.
Oh, completely, man. Dog, you hit it in the nail. And that's actually, I really relate to that because that is descriptive, and I'm sure we're on the same boat. That's descriptive of my uphill battle with my art and my in connection with my community. Like, I refuse to be a salesman. I refuse to compromise my ideas for the sake of making $1. Mm-hmm. Because at that point, I'm discrediting the very thing that I stand for. And to me, it's more important to actually pursue and express the ideas that I actually have than to, you know, cater to any kind of ideology just so I can turn a profit. And that's why I feel very comfortable speaking the way I do about capitalism, because even though there's hypocrisy in everything, and I'm not 100%. I do not absent myself from. I include myself as guilty, but I am making a conscious effort not to with the thing that I hold the most dearly, which is my art. You know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I stopped doing Lust Ape and I've taken a hiatus from it, is because I want it to be something that is sustained by the community. I don't want it to be. I don't want any corporate hand in it. I don't want any influence that's going to tell me what to do with it, you know?
Yeah, the thing that we all have to mold to, the thing that's enforceable, like in that quote that I was saying, the thing that's enforceable for all of us, almost all over the world now, is money and commerce and the banking system and, well, just that mentality.
Yeah.
And trying to adhere the dynamicness that humans are, or just one person is, to just that. To if it doesn't work there, then it's not valid, right?
It's disgusting.
Trying to adhere everything to that is it's just ridiculous. It's what a waste, right?
It's disgusting.
And then you have the counter argument of like, well, this is the best system that we've ever had. Right? There's more people being fed than ever before. People are being less cruel to each other than they ever have been. They're not like Romans, like lining up crucifixions of people for 6,000 of them for 30 kilometers. You know,
to the best of our knowledge. I mean,
well,
you know what I mean? Because ultimately we are taking this information under the assumption that everything that we're being told about the world is true. I mean, yesterday, actually.
Oh, wait a minute. You're changing levels on me.
Because
you're either going deeper right now or you're going more shallow.
I'm going to go deeper for a second.
I'm just saying it depends on how people view it, right?
Well, here I will cite this video. I just watched this for the first time yesterday, and it's just people dismiss YouTube videos, but god damn it, YouTube videos are
not all of them, just some of them. Like 0.1% of them.
Dude, I'll tell you what, I'll take any YouTube video over anything on that garbage television. Any of them. Yeah. The worst, crappiest crap. Crack.com, that crap. Yeah. I hate it, but I'll watch that before watching whatever's
I agree.
on TV.
Oh, yeah. The internet is definitely superior to the television.
But I watched this video called "Why Africa is Really Poor." Have you seen that video? It only has like 20,000 views. It's like not a viral video at all. And the videos kind of starts out with that kind of like,
let me guess, Andre, blame America.
well, no, it's like it's not America. It's not America even.
Let me guess, blame the West.
The West.
Yeah.
Well, it starts out.
Some white supremacist dude is like, they squandered it.
It starts out with like the typical chin 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 chin. Like
I hate that argument. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
It starts out with the music, the dark music, and like the clips and whatever. But then to me, the best part of the video at the end, there's like a 8-minute rant by this guy, and this is some random guy that has a video blog, a vlog thing.
I hate that word.
Vlog. I don't know what.
That and the one where they do webinar.
I never heard of that.
That's a terrible word. Forget about it.
Anyway.
Forget it.
And this guy, he's like just a guy. He's sitting in his house and he has a camera and he's ranting about why Africa is poor. And I mean, if I start talking about it now, I'm going to butcher the shit out of it. But the point this guy was making sounded very familiar to something I had heard before when I was living in Venezuela, in the form of the Hugo Chavez regime. I don't want to call it his presidency, rather. I don't want to call it a regime. He was democratically elected. And it was a very familiar tune to when Chavez was trying to put together the Great Colombia again, when he was trying to unify Latin America into one country and install a currency that, like the euro and the dollar, backed up by oil from Venezuela. And then suddenly Chavez died, and then it kind of all fizzled. And then Venezuela is in this kind of like weird embargo thing where there's no toilet paper mysteriously, and it's a crazy thing.
They shot him with a cancer gun.
Dude.
From
I'm
across a building. Like,
I'm not speculating that they killed him. I'm not speculating that at all.
You should.
I'm not.
It's one of the first things that came to mind when I saw him. You know, I don't know very much about Chavez.
Yeah.
I don't know very much about him. I've read a lot of criticism about him. Of course, I live in the United States, and we're very phobic to anything that is not us.
Yeah.
And doesn't resemble us or that we don't control. And so I always take all criticism about somebody who has a different idea of a different system with a grain of salt, a big grain of salt, a fucking salt mine, actually.
Right.
I take it with that. But I saw a video of him going around, it's propagandist maybe, of going around to the villages where he grew up and talking about, and he's actually a regular dude, kind of like from the ranks, you know. And I'm like, oh, okay, he seems like an all right guy. I'm pretty sure he's killed somebody, but for a leader, he seems like an all right guy.
Yeah.
You know, on that standard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you know, honestly, I'm ignorant on the subject. I mean, I know very little. All I know is that
I'm just kidding about it. I don't know if he's killed anybody actually.
He definitely has. He was in the military.
Okay, yeah, okay. There you go. Yeah.
But I don't want to make.
You think Putin's killed anybody?
No.
I'm just kidding.
I don't want to make this about Chavez because I'm talking out of my ass.
Yeah.
People on both. But what I do want to talk about is about this video. He was talking about Gaddafi. And
man, you gotta have some respect for Gaddafi though.
Well, that's exactly what I was gonna say. You know what Gaddafi?
He was such a pimp, dude.
You know what Gaddafi was trying to do?
Just look it up. What?
And I mean, I need to do more research. I just watched this video last night. So.
Right away, somebody's going to be like, you know what he did? You know he killed... Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but the thing is that this guy was saying...
Except we did it for freedom.
Right. This guy was saying something along the lines of, have you ever been to Libya? Libya provides free education, free healthcare, free maternity leave for newlyweds and new parents. Like, it's like a really...
After they stone you... Right? Well, there's the argument, right?
Well, right. But apparently what Gaddafi was trying to do was to unify Africa into the United States of Africa. And the deals were being done where Africa was going to have a gold currency, a currency made of fucking gold, backed up by lithium, petroleum, uranium, all the natural resources of Africa, which, by the way, Africa is the most rich element-wise continent, Africa and South America, in the world. Meanwhile, Europe and America are not all. So the argument this guy was making is the West is bankrupt.
Yes. Here. Oh, is that Luna? Oh, go ahead.
He was saying the West.
I love you, baby.
The West is bankrupt.
I'll be done in a moment.
And and the UN and NATO actually shut down this proposition because if Africa were to get in a gold standard where their currency was backed up by all the resources that the world mines out of their continent, the entire Western economic system would plummet because now the Southern markets would have leverage over the market because it's like, oh, your money, the only worth the dollar has is that everybody's just agreed to exchange dollars because a dollar is just paper. It's just a symbolic value which is attached to the military and international power of the West. So the argument this guy was making is the West is terrified. Europe and America are terrified of a true Southern Hemisphere uprising because that's where all the resources are. That's where all the wealth is.
So if that's the case, then there must be a lot of resources going into intelligence and military preparedness to make sure that
doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen, or it happens to how you need it to happen.
And also, here's the other thing. Where do you think the tech revolution, how is that being supplied? Like, how are these iPods being made?
Yeah, it's sick.
It's lithium.
Yeah.
Where's that?
There's a few things.
There's a bunch of stuff. It's slavery. It's Africa. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah, but you don't see it. It's just like a factory farming right under our noses. It's just right here, and it's on our soil, and you don't see the cruelty of it. Now, these are animals, and they're not people. Some people don't distinguish. I do. You know, if you're going to have me kill a 13-year-old person or a 13-year-old cow, I'm going to kill the cow, like, in a minute.
Right.
You know, but it's the same thing. People don't see it. If you don't see it, it's not there. Out of sight, out of mind.
Well, and it's
part of human nature.
And it's fear too, because people say, here's the argument that I've heard, and I heard Joe Rogan talk
about it. I'm not saying that people don't take advantage of that human nature, though, because they do.
They exploit it.
Yeah.
But what he was saying is, well, you know, in a realist model of civilization, there's always going to be a world power, and it might as well be us because we have the best intentions, and we're the West.
You're talking about Rogan said this?
Well, the idiot moron guy he had on there. We have the best intentions, and you know, if we are not the most powerful military nation in the world, or we're a world power, somebody else is going to take over, and we really want that because we're going to trust anybody else to be as idealist as we are, blah blah blah. And it's like, you fucking asshole. Like, I'm sorry I'm cursing so much, but it's like,
it's no big deal.
It's just angering.
There's a podcast, it doesn't matter.
It's just angering that there's this obtuse view of the world that there has to be a world power dictating things, or else the bad guys are going to take over. Mm-hmm. And it's like, have you read anything? Have you read any political philosophy? Are you at all...
Okay, look. Well, that argument, what that guy is arguing for, I don't know who the fuck this guy is. I don't know anything. I'm just saying, I don't know anything about it. But that isolated thing that you're talking about, that isolated thing, I am conflicted with, because that argument was not true before. But as soon as people invented missiles that can go around the world,
right,
that became true.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, as soon as there was airplanes that can go all over the world, or deliver a payload, or people,
right,
or whatever.
Oh, I agree. But who's doing that? Are they doing that, or are we doing that? Who's sending drones to kill innocent people?
Yeah, it's very hypocritical.
Who's the good guy?
No, it's an abuse of power in many respects, right?
And you know, it's like,
but nobody's gonna go and protest in the streets because they have too much shit and their life is too comfortable.
Yeah. We become what Nietzsche calls the new man, which is just and he is actually really funny because Nietzsche coined the term new man, referring to what communism would result. It's like, if we become communists and we're gonna just become conformist cows looking up at the sky, eating grass, like in complete bliss and ignorance. Well, that's what capitalism, extreme capitalism, has given us, this bovine race of people
Bovine, what does that mean?
like cow-like,
Okay.
that just eats and consumes and doesn't question and is easily led and is conformed. But,
And we are.
we are.
Yeah.
I am. Everybody. I would not survive if the very system that I despise and I fight is the very system that's keeping me alive. And
Well, yes, but you can't. I think, in my opinion, you can't look at it that way because you first of all, you can't help that you were born into this,
yeah.
or if your mom moved here, you can't help that either when you were a kid. So you have to work with what you have
Exactly.
and within the system that you have, and there's going to be a system even if you're in a tribe.
Right. Oh yeah.
1,000 years ago,
There's
you're going to have a system.
Yeah.
And so you can't disregard
The value of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. But I'll say this, and I say this. I've said this in your podcast before, and this is a quote. If my dad did nothing right, he did this right. He told me this quote that I will take to the damn grave, and he told me this when he was going to law school. When I was a kid, I'll never forget. He told me, "Law is not a reaction. Justice is not a reaction. Justice is an action. True justice is achieved not when we punish or when we seek out revenge or when we prevent a crime. True justice is equality for everybody and the ability for everybody to be included in the conversation." I don't believe
true justice. He's saying true justice is an originating.
It's an action. It's not a
action.
reaction. It's not a reaction.
It's not reactionary.
Exactly. It's not like, oh, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. It's not at all. And that's the problem I have with, and that's my
True
big...
justice is constructing something that is just.
Exactly.
It's not.
Exactly.
It's not combating something that is unjust.
It's not vengeance.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
that's how we've justice has had the connotation of vengeance in the United States for a long time.
For a long time.
Who knows how long? I don't know how long though, but 100 years, 200 years, maybe
more than that. We're a Christian nation. It's kind of a vengeful
here,
system.
I don't know how accurate this is. I'm only so smart, but I know I'm not the dumbest person that I know. But I love history.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sidetrack too much, but there's this term called presentism that I've only heard historians mention. Well, in that vein, there's everything that we learn about Rome or what we choose to pay attention to in history, or Romans or the Huns or whatever, our value system makes us pay attention to that.
Oh, it eschews it and steers us.
And it makes us pay attention to what parts of them, their weapons,
we pick and choose,
and their money and their invasions. But we could pay attention to their embroidery or their tattoos, and that could be the main thing, right? Maybe it's not as exciting. I don't know, but it's not as exciting because we're not that kind of a people,
right? Well, here's what we should be paying attention to for Rome: their sense of honor. Our population takes no pride in any kind of honor. It's always
I think it's off the hook. I think it's amazing how they're wealthiest and their top leaders were at the front of the army.
Oh, yeah.
When they decided to go to war.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, they were seen as cowards.
Exactly. Exactly.
That is off the hook.
That's
man.
how it should be. If
you're going to go to war, yes.
Exactly.
If you're going to send your people to war.
And those values are not necessarily values that are exclusive to war. I mean, being an honorable person is it's like what Martin Luther King, it's like your character, having a strong character should be more important than following along and fitting into a system. But what I was going to say about justice was that if we keep chasing the boogeyman, if we keep saying, oh, well, if we're not in power and something, then ISIS is going to come to power. And do you really want to live in that world where whatever? It's like, no, ISIS is a reaction. ISIS will always exist in some form. It's bad guy of the week. It's like a Batman comic.
Yeah,
it's like
enemy du jour.
Exactly. Last week he was Al Qaeda. This week is ISIS. Before that, it was the communists.
It's like a conveyor belt.
Exactly. And it's all a reaction.
Like these ducks popping up or something.
Exactly. So it's this whole top dog mentality is not productive to the human race, and the idea that
but it's been working for the power structure so far.
it's been working for them just fine, and
So,
but they're gonna die and they're gonna leave these ruins behind, and
so
your children
they're
are gonna have to put it back together.
So that's. I'm sorry. Did justice? That's where the justice we got there from the justice topic to what you were talking about right now.
Oh, just from like the notion of like America needs to be the superpower.
Okay. Yes. Now let me ask you about what we started talking about at the beginning.
Election.
Well, let me ask you this. So you have Bernie Sanders,
Okay.
and you have Hillary Clinton. Who else is a Democrat running? Is that it?
There's two other guys.
I mean left leaning, supposedly.
I forget the other guy's name.
Okay, you don't even know their names.
Yeah.
I don't know their names either. That's how important they are.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
busy.
so on the Republican side, we have who? Donald Trump,
Rubio,
the guy Cruz.
Ted Cruz, and what's the other?
Okay, that's enough. Okay, so Donald Trump is the most important
the
one.
surgeon guy, the brain surgeon guy. What's his name again? Ben Carson.
Okay.
Who just pulled out of the race, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, all right. So
we'll never see him again.
So here's the top dogs. I think, if I'm not mistaken on my current information, the top dogs are Trump, Hillary, and Bernie right now, right?
But Hillary, I don't think Hillary can beat Trump.
Well, wait a minute. So check this out. Peep out what I have peeped out here. So, you know how you were talking about that you think that sometimes you get this feeling that things are orchestrated, right? Well, first of all, think about what America and the West is, like just America, actually. Think about all the investments that are in play and all the relationships that are in play. And when, like, even a city is going to build a road, they have to plan it maybe years in advance and then execute it over like 10 years or 5 years, right? So now imagine with nation building and destroying and fighting and whatnot, okay? So imagine these long-term trajectories. Do you think, like, arguing for that argument that there's a hidden hand, you think they're going to let some Yahoo or just anybody become the leader of this country that has all of these things? They're with so much momentum of investments and corporate control and military investments and things about economics, all these things having momentum already. So now keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And then now look at Trump and how sensational he is. And I am disappointed like you would not believe in the people of this country as represented by the news or on social media, because I don't really see it, but I hear reports that people like Trump. I don't really see it. Yeah. I haven't met anybody that is totally down for him. I'm sure like maybe my wife's mom is.
Yeah.
But I haven't met anybody. I haven't talked to anybody. I meet plenty of people.
Me neither, man.
So, but the report is that people like him, right? Yeah. So you have him, and he said some crazy shit about minorities and whatnot and about other countries. And then you have Bernie Sanders, who is associated with a word that we have been taught since elementary school.
Is evil.
To associate with Stalin.
Or Hitler. He was a socialist.
Hitler. or Mao. Yeah. Or China. Or labor. Or whatever. It's that kind of a thing, that kind of a dark association. And then you have Hillary, which is a female, a white female, who it would be progressive for people to vote for, and you have all of the women vying for it just blindly off of just sexism.
Just because she's a woman.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Sexism 101.
Yeah, so that. And then if people, I'm just astounded when people are somewhat educated, and not that I'm the perfect judge to judge who's educated, who is actually, yeah. But when I'm astounded when somebody's somewhat educated and they like her, and I'm like, whoa, Have you read anything? Do you know anything about her history?
Dude, she's terrible.
Do you know who she's associated with? Well, it makes sense. So, but to think about that. We have Trump, which is one extreme, xenophobia and whatnot, and then we have Bernie, who's also Jewish, and
atheist.
I know, but people
Secular. Let's call him that. Yeah.
Yes, but people have their how do I put it to you? That's too convoluted of a topic, but it's there. Okay, it's there in Israel and whatnot, and he's secular. I believe if he were to say, I have nothing to do with any of that kind of stuff, I'm not worried about that. It's too much, right? I would believe him.
Yeah.
You know. Now, so there's that element, and then there's Hillary in the middle, who's the female, and you know, Bernie is a socialist, and he's equated with that word. So what does that leave people with? I'm sorry to be so fucking long-winded about this. It's like I'm thinking it out as I'm talking.
Right.
What does that leave you with? Like, who's going to win the election?
Oh my God, man!
Like, based off of these dynamics that I'm telling you about,
it's scary. The uncertainty.
it's not going to be
scary.
Trump, is what I'm thinking, and it's not going to be Bernie, even though I'm going to vote for the fucker, because he doesn't make sense. He doesn't make more sense than everybody. He fucking makes sense.
Oh yeah, man.
And the others don't.
Not at all.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
dude, I heard a speech he gave about.
So if he gets elected, he could be unelected by the system, right? Isn't that how it works? That means they could still pick Hillary, even if he got 10 million more votes.
But that's the thing, and I think that's what you said. Actually, what you said is it illustrates the problem very clear, and the conclusion that I draw from what the question you just asked me is. What we have in this country is an us versus them. It's a scale, and in one end of the scale is the population, and in the other end of the scale you have corporate America. You have the 1%, the people with influence who want the country to go in a certain way to their advantage, and then on the other scale you have everybody else. Now, isolated. A single member of the population is completely powerless. But I would argue that collectively, the power that we have just as voters can go head to head with the power that the 1% has accumulated. So,
or the electoral college, as they call it.
Or the corporations.
And their friends, and the people who have dinner at their house.
Exactly. The power they've accumulated is about equal to the power of the people, and here's a good way to a good analogy. We have super delegates, right? Mm-hmm. Which are non-elected people that are chosen by each political party, and their vote is worth more than the electoral. You know, like a super delegate can make or break a candidate, but a super delegate is not. And these people are not elected democratically. These people are just.
I'm laughing. You know why I'm laughing right now?
Because it's ridiculous.
No, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but you're accurate. It's accurate.
Right.
However, you know what's lacking? I just realized this right now. Well, you know what's lacking with this argument, this topic?
What?
You as an artist need to take this responsibility. You as a visual artist, is that when you start talking about things like super delegates, it's like if you're talking to me, Goliath Flores, like 18 years ago,
right,
and you're talking to me about Congress. Okay, and 18 years ago, I don't even know what the fuck that is. I'm like, right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, super delegates, like, how did we go all this time without it being common knowledge, right? Because supposedly you were supposed to learn about the political system in school, right?
Right.
I don't remember that.
Well, you're just supposed to get good grades in school. You're not supposed to learn anything.
Well, I'm saying it's supposed to be in the books and it's supposed to be highlighted, right? This is how things get done. I don't know how things have changed over time or whatnot. But so you as an artist need to make a visual thing to hang on to.
Yeah.
Like when you say super delegate, I don't know what to picture.
It's
like, what does that look like?
It's a fucking dude.
Okay, super.
It's a dude that either okay. So there's super
or a
delegate,
chick, right?
Yeah, or a chick sitting that was appointed by a political party.
Does she wear a cape?
I don't know. I think it wears a suit.
Yeah. Does she have like does she have a crippling? Is there something that has a crippling effect to them, like kryptonite? Is it truth?
Well, here's what I think their role is. Their role is the party's supposed to have a party identity, like a corporation does, right? So let's say that you're running for office for the Democratic Party, but you're an outsider, right?
Okay, do you call this person on the phone? I'm running for office. Me, Goliath Flores. I'm running for office. I want to be the president of the United States. Do I talk to this person on the phone?
The superdelegate?
Yeah.
No, you have to wait to a national, like the national convention, and after all the delegates from each state is handed out, they make their vote in the convention, and they say, "Well, I'm going." It seems.
So hang on a second. Let's back up a little bit. So I'm running for office, and who do they hang out with? Who do superdelegates hang out with? Like in their free time, like their social hour. Like, do they hang out with newscasters or reporters?
I think they're just part of the party.
But like, imagine their peer group. Imagine their peer group. Like, you have a peer group, right?
Right.
Hippies, people smoke weed, they drink, right? You know what I'm saying?
Musicians,
yeah, musicians, jazz musicians. You know what I'm saying? People wake up late, right? Who do they hang out with? Like, who do they hang out with?
Superdelegates?
Yeah. Because I really don't know. I don't even know one of them's name.
For the record, I wake up at 7 a.m. every day because I work.
Yeah, I'm just fucking around. No, but
no, when you joke, you give these assholes fuel on the internet. They're like, listen to that fucking liberal hippie.
Well,
he gets up at
people,
noon.
we can't like we
He's
can't
entitled.
we can't we can only construct ourselves or an argument so much based off of what other people will want to hang on to.
You're right. No, you're
what
right.
they want to hang on to. You can hang on to the fact that I said the wrong word and be like, "What an idiot!"
And,
right?
and with social justice warriors out there's no nuance anymore.
So I don't know, right? So I don't know any of superdelegates' names.
Right.
Do you? I don't know either.
I don't know.
Okay, this is important, right?
It's important
because we don't even know who they are.
These people are deciding who's running on the ballot for either.
So right. Okay, so I'm trying to run for president. I'm not meeting these people because we're not hanging out together.
Well, for one, let's say Goliath Flores is running for president. For one, how much money do you have?
I have $1 billion.
$1 billion. You can do a lot.
billion.
You can do a lot with $1 billion.
$1 billion.
I'm sure.
Right. So then these people, where do they live?
What is this money? By the way,
I'm picturing them in a house like in Vermont or in Aspen, and they like skiing.
the Adirondacks in upstate New York.
So there's a superdelegates. Dan Carlin talked about superdelegates recently in his podcast. Okay,
Common Sense,
and even him in his very simplified way that he knows how to do that.
He's amazing.
I still don't understand it. Like, what does that look like, Dan? I'm like, what does it look like? You need to draw a superdelegate, bro.
It's just a dude that says, "Oh, this guy is not. He's not in the image." Well, that's the sign.
So he can pick the president. Regardless of a vote.
They can veto, because what they can do is say, this person doesn't represent our party. We don't want him running I'm not going to give him the votes, because that is protecting our identity and making sure that somebody like
So really
Donald Trump
that would be part of the mechanism of my conspiracy, quote unquote, theory that I was telling you earlier. That would be part of the mechanism in that momentum.
But the superdelegate is not going to go against the popular vote. Because what that would mean...
Because he'll end up with pitchforks outside of his house.
It's a black eye in the party. And when people start losing faith in parties, it's when people start losing elections. And winning elections is the currency of the corporation called a political party. Mm-hmm. It's a game. It's not. They don't really give a shit about welfare of any... They're just literally... It's a game. It's like playing Monopoly, and they have to win at this game because that's their purpose, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the leverage that we have, because if we are aware of this, then we can manipulate them and we can actually pressure them. The reason Apple is fighting the Supreme Court on privacy is because the public, the consumer, is demanding privacy, right? So that just shows the power of the collective is insane. We can sway things, and that's, to me, and that's why I don't want to say, oh, it's Hillary, because the minute we say, oh, it's Hillary, the news is telling you it's Hillary. The news is people like me who support Bernie Sanders. Here's how we're being portrayed or dismissed in the media. They're saying you're entitled. You just want free stuff. Mm-hmm. As far as Hillary, she's a woman. You don't want a woman. You're a sexist. If you don't like Hillary, I fucking saw an article on BuzzFeed saying that why the Democratic campaign, you know how they always say, why this is this, right? Why the Democratic primary election is sexist.
Yeah.
So if you don't like Hillary, then you're on the wrong side of history. And if you like Bernie Sanders...
Why conservative Republicans in the South are not racist.
Dude, I'm telling you, I want to I have as
Why
much...
Democrats hate Obama.
I hate...
Why Republicans don't like loud music.
And that's part of the SJW establishment. It's like it's taken over.
So look, man, there's the internet, right? Right. The internet is liberating. A door open for a way out and a way in is just that. A way out is a way in. Okay, the internet, as liberating as it is, means it's as liberating for infiltration as it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So unless people are more careful about how they communicate, which is encrypting, but that's a different topic. However, people are not doing that right now.
We're going to have underground railroads in the internet.
Think about like Facebook and what they know about masses of people and Twitter and Google, right? And think about how, you don't have to think about it. You can think about whatever the fuck you want. But I'm saying, consider how quantifiable, I don't know a better word than that, like measurable things are now to the exact degree. Like, what are people liking Hillary or not? You can find out.
You can find out based on the internet.
You can really find out
based on the internet presence.
It's not a guess.
I would say Bernie Sanders is it's definitely
right. So you're like, we need to stifle this
because, dude, you know those memes, the Bernie Sanders memes that are going around.
No.
You haven't heard of that? Okay.
No.
Okay, listen to this, man. This is actually
I have no internet at home for like 4 months now.
You're gonna regain some hope when I tell you about this. So there's been this fad, right? And I don't have Facebook. My wife has Facebook. I have Instagram though, which is where I just put all my art and stuff.
Shame on her. Shame on your wife. Shame on my wife. Shame on these yentas, on these.
Well, anyway.
Yeah. Gossiping.
There's this beautiful thing that has been happening, which is, to me, has been money out of politics in action. To me, it's been a manifestation of what a system where corruption is taken out of the electoral process. There's been these memes, and the meme here's the breakdown of this meme: is Hillary versus Sanders, right? It's two pictures, right? And it says, and it's a blue frame, and it's got two pictures, and it's got two text boxes below it, and on the top header it says topic, right? And the topic has like a blank space, and you fill in the blank. So Hillary versus Sanders, the topic, and then what they each one have to say on the topic, right? So it seems like it could be all on the economy, right?
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton this, Bernie Sanders that. But what the internet has done for the memes, they've taken ridiculous like Hillary, like pizza. Hillary Clinton, I love Papa John's, and then Bernie Sanders, I love a good bruschetta with good, with like a more in depth description of what a good pizza is, or like in fill in the blank, like on Batman, and then you'll have Hillary Clinton, oh, I love Christian Bale, and then Bernie Sanders, oh, the character created by Bob Kane in the 40s, a depiction of crime, whatever, psychological thriller, and he'll have like a...
Do you think that's helping? Is that helping though?
That, to me, has...
This is how my dad feels when I tell him about the internet.
Dude, it has, to me, I would attribute that a lot of his popularity has been widespread because of that meme.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. Do you think that the internet... Let's say you become an influential user, you, Andre. Let's say you make a graphic. You start getting on a roll, man. You start making out some graphics, and they just start taking off and start influencing society because they're spreading
like I'm building
all over.
Like my platform is now big enough so that I have an influence.
No, like you just keep putting stuff out there and you post it on Imager or wherever. Instagram, and then it just spreads images, right? And you just keep consistently doing this. Do you think that you can be shut off, shadow banned, quote unquote, without you even knowing it? Absolutely. And all of a sudden you think your brilliant idea, might actually be brilliant, is actually just not being seen because it's being handled. It's being curtailed.
Oh yeah, I think that's the story of all my.
It's just
content.
not popping up.
I think that's my content in a nutshell. Everything that I put out, whether it's in the form of an animated cartoon or a web video or
But I'm saying, do you think that technology exists?
yes,
Really, I suspect so too.
because
I suspect
there's
so
a
too.
reason why when I post something is not prioritized over. Like, I'll give you an example.
Oh, dude, look, if you're ever on Facebook or if you're on Instagram, if you want to post something, this is what I heard recently. Say Doritos or Chick-fil-A or something
Yeah.
on there. Or say Sony. And then everybody will see it.
Right, exactly. You're right. And I'll put it this way.
Like, because they have contracts with...
Is there a reason why those BuzzFeed articles that say why this is this and this is that like if that gets a repost from Abigail, that repost will get a bunch of hits. At least 30 hits. Which is nothing, but 30 hits is 30 hits.
Yeah.
Or if I post a new song I'm working on, it'll get 2.
That's why.
There's just no money in it.
That's why you got to say, I just wrote this new song for Sony and Doritos and, Pringles.
Dude, I posted
and McDonald's.
I posted a Bernie Sanders.
And then see if it changes. I want to see an experiment. Ask Abigail to do it.
I'll do it on my Instagram. I posted a Bernie Sanders thing on my Instagram, and I tagged it. Feel the burn, Bernie Sanders, blah, 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 blah. I got 2 hits. I post things that just are tagged drawing, art, whatever. I get at least 14
See, dude,
hits.
I like Bernie Sanders like I like a lot of people, dude. I like things Bob Avakian said. I like things that Noam Chomsky says. I like things that Norman Finkelstein says. Oh, that's pretty cool, man.
That's my band, The Ferns.
Yeah, I dig it. The Ferns. So I like things that Dan Carlin says. There's so many people that I appreciate their
Input.
their mind and the things that they contribute. And Bernie Sanders is just another one of those guys. Yeah. And I have trouble just rallying behind some man that I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. What if he's not probably, but what if Bernie Sanders was like some, I don't know. It's like, yeah, what if it was
evil Jew?
Because I
he's a fucking money hungry
he's like,
Jew.
No, that's a bad what do you call it? Stereotype. And but it has been a long-standing stereotype for Jewish people. Yeah. But so what if I don't know the guy? I don't know. Yeah. I can't. I have such a hard time like sticking a sign on my lawn.
Well, it's ridiculous, man. The whole idea is ridiculous. But
I'm still. You know what? Right now, the dude. Oh, because he has reason, he still has my vote.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying right now? And it's not because I like him. It's not because for any other reason except for the shit that comes out of his mouth is why I'm sorry. I'm being vulgar. Hopefully my kids can't hear that. But
he's talking about mass incarceration of minorities. When the hell have you heard a politician talk about that?
But you know what? It's a little bit frustrating to me when the excitement of it. I understand the excitement of it being in office.
The momentum.
Right. But I'm saying the reason it's frustrating to me is because I've witnessed the black community talk about this for years. Right? And now this dude says it on a platform that is close to the helm of the country, where it's near the control center. Right? And so that's significant. That is significant. But it's old.
Yeah.
To me and to a lot of people, I spent some time in Oakland. I knew people who lived there.
He'll probably get his ass killed if he does anything, man.
Exactly, like the mythology behind Kennedy.
Yeah,
you try to challenge the system, and if he does get taken out, then that's another confirming factor.
That's what I would. If I was him, that's what I would say to cover my ass. Like, listen. I'm about to do some old school monopoly breaking. I'm going to do some FDR shit up in this bitch. I'm going to do some Teddy Roosevelt shit up in this bitch. I'm going to destroy... That's Teddy Roosevelt. I'm going to destroy all these banks. I'm going to fucking... The getting's done here. Mm-hmm. P.S. If I get shot, then that our democratic system has been hijacked. Mm-hmm. And then let time tell.
Well, he could write a letter like that. Yeah. And then it could be released.
Yeah.
If he dies. You know, you could have like an email tied to your heartbeat. And as soon as your heartbeat stops, like the email shoots off.
Dude, he would have to
we have to stop,
We
bro.
have to wrap it up. All right. Sounds good to me.
Is that cool?
That's cool.
Do you have anything you want to talk about that you're doing musically or anything? Are you going to be anywhere?
I just want to plug one thing.
Yeah, man.
So I have.
I'll upload this tonight.
Okay. So we have a channel, Rum and Duck Entertainment, which is where I upload all my cartoons and.
You said rum and duck.
Rum and duck, like the drink, and duck, like.
Because it kind of sounded like you said Roman.
Roman, yeah.
Yeah,
Rum and Duck Entertainment on YouTube, and there you can watch all our stuff. And then I also have my own channel, Andre Gruber. But the main thing I want to talk about is, we have all kind of zany stuff. We have all the Lust Ape stuff, which is my magazine, lustape.magazine.com. You can check that out. And
it's a graphic magazine.
Yeah. It's
novel, illustrations.
And zany
it's chaos.
Zany articles.
It's a real mag.
Yeah. It's like a classic zine.
Yeah, a zine. Yeah.
And then, but the one thing I want to plug, I'm starting a new channel called The Nihilist Altruist. And I'm doing writing for it now, but it's based. It's based.
You're gonna implode with that one.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a contradictory thing. But
it's gonna implode.
It's basically what you're doing. It's a video cast. I'm just gonna be. I'm writing a little. I'm debating whether or not I should do it free form, or if I should actually read something, or if I should have notes.
Do all of them.
Do all of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just do all of them. One of them will win, and then they all might be a good. How do I put it to you? Symbiosis, a variety of stuff.
I just feel like there's so much.
If I had more time, I would do more monologue episodes.
Yeah,
but I just don't have time right now.
Damn, man. Well, if you have time, you should come on the Nihilist Ultras, and we should do an episode.
Yeah, man. I have some ideas for monologue stuff. I write things down.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh, this would be really good talked out, but then I have to make music for it because I'm not just going to talk. I don't want to just talk.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to make music in the background for it. And that's a whole. I already. I have a full plate.
And it's about chemistry too. Like when you do a monologue, you have to actually, like Dan Carlin is great at it because
he's fucking great, man.
Because he's like, you're having a conversation with a guy, and that's the kind of thing that engages. And people.
I always picture that he has a portrait of like Benjamin Franklin or somebody that he's looking at and he's talking to, or he has a picture of an audience.
You're right.
Right? Like a big poster of an audience. And he's like, because look, folks, the pressure of talking to someone.
What if
like
it's
that?
his dog?
He's a great orator, though.
What if his pets are like right there in front of him?
That's Ben. Ben is probably his cat. Right?
Yeah.
All right, man. It's good to see you.
Likewise.
And we'll talk some more about stuff in the future.
Yeah, let's do it.